Good morning, this is your Math Sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is Algebra 1 Star Test 2025 problems 1 through 10. Okay, so this first problem is one that you should get right, but if it's one that you struggle with, it's not the worst thing. I am going to break it down completely. This is one where we need to start off with distributed property. We know that because we have parentheses, so I need to multiply this times everything inside the parentheses. So when I do that, I go 1.5 times the 4 and I get 6. So this will become, but I also have a j, so I need to write down the j. I also have 1.5 times 10. Now make sure that you have that as a negative 10. So 1.5 times, 1.5 times negative 10. And I get negative 15, but I have a k, so I need to make sure I have that right. So negative 15k. Now I need to take this negative 2.5 and distribute it because once again, we have parentheses and parentheses always mean multiply. So in this case, we have negative 2.5 times 8, which is negative 20. So minus 20, but I have a j, so I need to write it down. Then I have the negative 2.5 times the 6. So negative 2.5 times the 6. And I now have negative 15, but it's a k, so I need to make sure I write down that variable k. Okay, at this point, I need to combine my j's. Well, I have two j's. I'm going to go ahead and highlight those. So I have 6j and minus 20j. Well, what's 6j minus 20j? So I'll take my calculator and I go, well, 6 minus 20 gives me negative 14. So that means I have a negative 14j. Well, guess what? That gets rid of this one and that gets rid of this one because we know we have these. Now I need to combine my k's. I also have two k's. I have a minus 15k and I have another minus 15k. So let's put those together, combine those together, and we're going to go minus 15, and we get negative 30. Well, we can't forget the k, so we have negative 30k, and our best answer for number one is C. Number two, the graph and exponential function is shown on the grid. Please remember, you can look this up. They'll have a formula sheet on your test. It'll be y equals a parentheses b raised to the x power. Okay, we have to know what A is. A is our y-intercept. It's also our start. Well, guess what? I know my y-intercept is, in this case, A is 3. All right, and I got that from the graph because this is where it crosses the y-axis. The next thing, we need to talk about B. If B is greater than 1, it's growth and the graph is going up as we go left to right. Well, this is going down. Why? Because B is less than 1, which is decay, and that means it's going down. So this graph is going down. So we have this situation. We have a situation of decay. We don't have this. Okay? So the very first thing it asks about is which is best represented by the graph. The equation of the asymptote is x equals 4. Well, x equals 4 is a vertical line, and we can remember that if we think about the angry slope man. Negative, positive, and undefined is x equals, we have a vertical line. So that's not true. Matter of fact, every time we've dealt with one of these, everything on a STAAR test, it's always been, the asymptote has always been y equals 0, because the asymptote is the line that it cannot touch. In this case, it gets closer and closer to this line. Well, what is this line? It's a horizontal line. And what is our y value? In this case, our y value happens to be 0. So y equals 0 is our horizontal asymptote. That is a line that it never touches. So in this case, we know for sure that A is incorrect because it's not x equals, it's y equals 0. The function is increasing. No, it's not increasing, it's decreasing. And by the way, this says increasing and decreasing. No, we don't have that. It's either going to be increasing or it's going to be decreasing. It's not going to be both. So the fact that they have both, not true. The x-intercept of the graph is 8, 0. I don't know where that came from, but that's not right. The x-intercept is where it crosses the x-axis, and it never gets to the x-axis because it never gets to 0. So that's false. Then it says the y-intercept of the graph is 0, 3. And guess what? This ordered pair where it crosses is at 0, 3. And so this right here is my solution. Got to know these types of problems, okay? Super important that you get your exponentials right. The next one, number 3, which expression is equivalent to the square root of 50? This is also a give me problem. I can go through all the math of it, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to plug this into Desmos and I'm going to get a decimal. And then I'm going to plug all of these in the decimals and I just need Desmos and I need to get the decimal that's equivalent. So all I have to do is plug this into Desmos and I'm going to go ahead and start sharing my screen and we'll start that. So the first one was the square root of 50. Go ahead and hit the little keyboard down here, hit the square root sign, put 50, and we get 7.07. So I need something equals 7.071. So we'll try out the first one. The first one was 2, and then we have a square root of 5. And we get 4.47. That's not what we want, so we know it's not A. So then I'm going to try B. Get rid of A and I'll try B. In B, I go 5, and then I'll press the square root of 2. And now I get 7.071. And that is the answer we were looking for. So our answer choice number 3 is B. All right. So 7.071, these two match. That's our answer. We're done with 3. Moving on to number 4. A system of linear equations is shown on the coordinate plane. Which system of equations best represents the system shown on the graph? Well, there's several ways to go about this, and I'm going to look at a bunch of them. All right, just because I don't know what you're going to be comfortable with. But first off, they're asking for one of the things when we have a system of equations, you need to know that, hey, this is my answer, okay? Because it's true for both of them. So in this case, we have my answer is at my x value is 3 and my y value is x. So if they had asked for, hey, what's the solution? Well, there's one solution and it's where they cross. They touch at 3, 5. So what I can do is I can plug in 3 and 5 for both of these and see for the x's and for the y's and see which one matches. Or we can start off by just graphing these. So I'm going to start off by going to and graphing A, then I'm going to graph B, but I have a problem here with C. To graph C, I need to put it in y equals mx plus b format, which means this x's go to the other side. When it goes to the other side, it changes sign, so it becomes y equals negative x plus 2. This 4x has to go to the other side. And when it does that, it switches signs. So instead of a positive 4x, it's y equals negative 4x plus 17. And this is going to, once again, be y equals, this has to go over. And this will be negative x plus 2. This 4x goes over and it becomes y equals negative 4x plus 15. At this point, they all look like they're in y equals mx plus b format. And once they're in mx plus b format, I can go ahead and graph them. Now, this is one way to do it. It's not the only way. I said I'm going to do it 2 ways, and this is the first way is I'm going to plug it this way, and we'll get our answer, and then I'll go back and do it in the second way. So I'm going to switch over to Desmos. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to plug in y equals x plus 2. And I'm going to zoom this out just a little bit so it shows better. And then I'm going to put on the next one. The next one was y equals negative 4x plus 17. Okay, does it cross at the right place? Does it cross at 3, 5? It certainly looks like it does. And the graphs look the same. So I'm going to say that my answer choice to this very first one happens to be answer choice A. I didn't have to go any farther. Okay. Um, just for curiosity, we'll plug in the next one and the next equation for B. And when I look at it, it doesn't cross at the right spot. We needed it to cross at 3, 5, and A. Answer choice A, when I put my marker there, crossed at 3, 5. That's the point it needed to cross at. It does. That's our answer. Now, that's one way to do it. The other way to do it is, hey, I know it's x is 3 and y is 5. Let's go ahead and plug it into the equation. Well, if I have 5 equals, because I'm plugging in this for my y, and then 3 plus 2. Is that true? Yeah, 5 equals 5. That's a true statement. So it works for that equation. When I go to the next one, I have 5, plugging in 5 for y equals negative 4 times 3 plus 17. Well, I don't know what that is. Let's go ahead and use the calculator. I need it to equal 5. So what's negative 4 parenthesis 3 plus 17? Hey, guess what? 5 equals 5. That's a true statement. These are my answers. All right, so it worked. Either way, I can either plug in the point for the x and the y, or I can plug in the equations in the Desmos, but they have to look like y equals. Okay, that takes care of number 4. That one's on the more difficult side. You need to get half of the difficult ones right. It's not on the easy side. This next one is an easy one, and you have to get it right. This is one that you have to do. So number 5, it says, which function has a range that is a set of all real numbers greater than or equal to negative 1? You're like, gosh, I don't even know what that looks like. I don't either. But I do know this. I know the range is my y values. And I'm going to go to Desmos, and I'm going to sit there and go, well, I can plug in these equations, and it says I need the range has to be all greater than or equal to negative 1. So y has to be greater than or equal to negative 1. And I also notice these are quadratics. And a quadratic, the reason I know it's a quadratic because it has the exponent of 2. So it's either going to be opening up or it's going to be opening down. But if it's going to be greater than, I bet it's not down. I bet it's going to be this. And the reason that's important is I know this is positive and I know this is negative. So it's probably not going to be that one. So it could be any one of these three. That said, I'm going to try the first one and see what it looks like, which means I need to go to Desmos and plug these equations in one by one to see which one has values. All the values of y must be greater than negative 1. And I know it's the values of y because of the word range. So here we go, sharing my screen. And we plug in y, actually not y, we plug in equals negative x squared minus 1. Oops. Minus 1. Get rid of that equal sign. There we go. And when I look at that, are the values greater than negative 1? No. In this one, they are less than negative 1. So on this one, if I look at it, I'm going to stop my share for just a moment. On this one, my values are y is less than or equal to negative 1 because it was facing down and my highest point was here at negative 1. So it's not that one because I need to be bigger. So I'm going to go back and we'll try the next one. And we'll keep doing them until we come up with the right one. So the next one is x squared plus 4x plus 3. So x squared plus 4x plus 3. And when I look at that, hey, you know what? My lowest value, if I draw a line to the y-axis, my lowest value happens to be at -1, and it goes up from there. So it looks like this is my smallest answer because the y value is -1. So that looks like this one right here appears to be my right answer. Now, I'm not confident of that, so I'm going to keep trying other answer choices, but right now it looks like it's B. We know it's not A, but it could be B. So B is a possibility, so I'm going to mark B as a possibility, and I'm going to keep going on. I'm going to try answer choice C. C is going to be parentheses x plus 3, parentheses x plus 3, close parentheses, squared plus 1. And it's like, no, that's not -1. That's +1. So y is greater than +1 on that one. So it's not that one. So it's not C. Now we're going to try the next one. And it's x plus 4 squared minus, and it's like, no, my low value is way down here at -17. Y is greater than -17. So the only answer choice it could possibly be is B. So in this case, it was B because our graph looks something like this, where this was at -1. Okay, the Y value was at -1, the lowest point, the minimum. All right, so number 5 is one you really need to get right. Number 6, the table represents some points on the graph of a linear function. If they give you this, you need to always plug it into the equation. And by the way, there are a couple key words. First off, they said it was linear. This means we're going to have a line. And anytime they give you a table, you're going to plug that table into Desmos. And remember, this is X and this just means Y. So those would be our Y values. Okay? So they're going to write it out like this, but that just means Y equals, and they're looking for MX plus B. That's what they're looking for. So I'm just going to plug the table values into Desmos and see what gives me the equation. So here we go. And incidentally, this is a super easy problem. Totally have to get this right every single time. You hope they have lots of problems like this on the test. So I press the plus button, then I select table, and we had -6, then we have -2, 4, and 10. And then on the other side, we had -10, -4, 5, and 14. All right, now that I've done that, I'm going to reach over and choose what I call the domino button, and it says add regression. It automatically is a linear, and I have y equals 1.5x minus 1. I'm going to write that down because that's going to help me out. So y equals 1.5x minus 1. I'm going to switch back over. And so we go, oh, well, that plus must be a -1. And sure enough, there's a -1. So this -1 is going to go here. Problem is, and by the way, we know this has to be a positive. So it can't be this. It can't be this. It can't be this. It has to be one of these others. Unfortunately, Desmos always gives it to us as a decimal. So at this point, I need to turn those fractions into decimals. So the first one is 1 divided by 2. Oh, that's 0.5. That's not it. I go 3 divided by 2, and I get 1.5. So I need the 3 divided by 2, and that's my answer because that 3 divided by 2 is the same as 1.5. Okay, that's number 6. That's an easy one. Have to get it right. Number 7, this is one we haven't talked about yet because it's a second semester problem, but it's super easy. So a student has used a check cashing account to pay for living expenses during the first 2 years of college based on the correlation coefficient. As soon as they say correlation coefficient, you go bing, 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 bing. I'm going to be looking for, I'm going to put this table because anytime I give you a table, you know you're putting that in a Desmos. And you're going to look for the R. You're going to look for an R, not the R squared, but the R. So if they have the R squared, which they will, you're going to cross that out and ignore that. You're going to look for the R, and it'll either be positive or negative. Okay. The other thing is if R is greater than 0.5, it's strong. If R is less than 0.5, it's weak. And we're only looking at the number. We're not worried about whether it's a positive or negative. The positive or negative we do first, and we go, okay, it's going to be a positive or a negative, and we'll go, all right, if it's positive, it's one of these two. If it's negative, it's one of these two. And then we'll look at the number. If that number is greater than 0.5, then it's strong. If it's less than 0.5, it's weak. So I need to put this in the Desmos, and we're going to go ahead and run this thing. So we're going to press share screen, and I'm going to clear this out. Remember to get a table, you press plus, and then select the table, and we have 2 enter, 8 enter, 12 enter, and take the time to check your numbers and make sure you put all of them in. And then we have, don't use the comma, 7, 5, 9, 2, and then we use 5, 9, 3, 1, and then we have 5, 6, 8, 3, and then we have 4, 4, 2, 8. And the last one we have is 2854. 2854. Okay, once I've done that, I'm going to go to the domino button, and I have a linear equation, but I really don't. There's a linear equation if I wanted it, but what I really wanted is this R value. In this case, our R value is negative 0.9907. So R equals negative 0.9907. That's all I need to answer this question. So I've written that down, and we're going to go back to my paper. So we have R equals negative 99.07. Well, guess what? It's negative. That means it's not positive. So that gets rid of those. So it's one of these. So now I'm just looking at the number. Well, 0.9907 is greater than 0.5. So since it's greater than 0.5, remember I said if it's greater than 5, it is strong. So this is strong and it's negative. All right, that's all you need to know. That's an easy problem. You need to get that one right every time. Okay, moving on to problem number 8. What is the equation of the line in slope-intercept form of the line that has a slope of negative 2/11 and passes through 22, 5? Okay, so we have a couple ways to do this. First off, they want it in slope-intercept form, which means we need it in y equals mx plus b form. There's multiple ways to do this, but I think the easiest way is to plot the point on the graph and then sit there and go, which one of these actually passes through it? Now we notice that all of them have negative 2/11. So we know this. We know this part is good, but we don't know what B is. Now we can solve for B. That'd be nice mathematically, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to plug these in and see which passes through the point. So I'm going to go to Desmos. And the first thing I'm going to do is plot the point that they gave me. And they gave me the point of 22, 5. So parenthesis 22, comma, space 5. Okay. And I'm going to zoom out. Well, that should have been a comma, not a period. Make sure you use a comma. There we go. And I'm going to have it label that point. There it is. Yay, we have a point. I need a line that passes through that point. So let's start the first one. The first one is y equals -2 divided by 11. And then we have x plus 9. Oops, plus 9. Hey, guess what? It passes through the point. So since it passes through the point, that looks like it. I'm going to go ahead and do the next equation. So A looks like that's my answer. The next one was plus 1. And guess what? Plus 1 does not go through it. And by the way, I did that wrong. Let me do this again. So there's A. The plus 1 did not pass through the point. So that one's not right. So B is not right. Then I do the -9. It doesn't go through the point. It's way down further. And then when I do the -1, it doesn't pass through the point. So the only one that passed through the point was A. So the answer to number 8 is A because it passes through the point. So make sure on that type, plot the point, then plot the answers and see which one goes through it. Easy enough problem. Should get that one right. Okay, which statement about the zeros of h of x is true? Whenever they're asking about zeros, they're talking about, they could have called it 0, they could have called it the solution, they could have called about the x-intercept, they could have called it and they called it the zeros, and they could have called it the roots. It means where does this cross the x-axis? Okay, so I need to plot this in and see where it crosses the x-axis. Now this is also a give me problem. And notice I have two x's, and that guess what? That means I'm going to either touch it once. Well, it means it's going to be shaped like this. It's going to be shaped like a parabola, and I want to know where does it touch the x-axis. It may touch it twice, it may touch it once, or may not touch it at all. So I'm going to go ahead and input that equation that I just underlined into Desmos and see what happens. So we're going back to share our screen. And 3 parentheses x minus 5, then close parentheses x plus 7, close those parentheses. And we say, oh, we cross here, label that. And then we also cross right there, and I'm going to label that. So in this case, we cross at -7 and 0. And we also cross at 5 and 0. All right. So what does that mean? Well, let's see. Oops. That's not what I wanted to do. It stops the share. So we need to be -7 and +5. Well, -7 and +5 are right here. So those are my answers. And what this means, h of x equals 0, that means when x is 5, it's 0. Well, guess what? When x is 5, y is 0. When x is -7, y is 0. So our answer choice to number 9 is C because it's 5 and -7, and that's what we got. Okay, that's another problem that you really have to get right. Super important. This next one, it's on a little more challenging scale, but one that you should get right. So this is you have to get half of these right, half of this type of problem right. So it says 3y minus 2x is less than or equal to -6. Well, when I look at this, I go, you know what? I see that there's a line underneath it. And that right there gets rid of half my answer choices. Because if I have a symbol that looks like either one of these three, I get a solid line. If it looks like this without a line, I get a dash. These have a line underneath, so I need a solid line. Well, the dash went with this, but this had a solid line, so that gets rid of these. because I need a line, I need a solid line because of that. Now, this 3y, I look at the y. If the y is positive, I don't flip the sign. Whatever the sign is, I don't flip it. If the y is negative, I flip the sign. In this case, the y is positive. We don't flip the sign. We leave it alone. So the sign stays the way it is. Now, is a less than sign. And what that means is if I have a guy, he can either be above or below. Well, if this tree falls down, he falls on this guy because it's a less than. Well, guess what? My shading needs to be where the guy is. In this case, if it has to be less than, so I need to be shading below. So it needs to fall on this guy. So my answer is B, because this guy is less than the tree. Okay, this would be a greater than where the person's above it, but if it falls on you, you're less than it. So if you're in that shaded zone, it falls on you. Okay, so that's the answer to number 10. That's not too difficult. It's one you should be getting. Appreciate you watching and look forward to seeing you on the next one. Thank you.